Hi, it's Jane, and it is time for what? Whip and coffee. And yes, I do have coffee. Um, and I have a little bit of a haul first. I call these friend hauls because they're friends who think about you when they're wanting to get rid of things they can't use. And one of those things, and I'm extremely glad because I was ready to start working on a blanket. Although this is pure virgin wool, so I have to work this somewhere else with some of the other wools that I have. This is called Jack Frost Knitting Worsted. It's 100% pure virgin wool. So I do have some wool that I can use that with, and I will be starting a blanket. And then she had some of this hairy yarn. You know, this lovely yarn that has that lovely halo. It's Fildar Aurora, and it's 36% mohair, 24% wool, 19% polyamide, 18% acrylic, and 3% polyester. And as you can see, it's got that halo on it. There are 3 in this, and there are 1 ounce and 3/4 of an ounce in each of those. And then there is another color that is included in that as well, and that is like a tan color. Now these, believe it or not, they make great beards for gnomes. They also make great hair for comfort dolls if you do make comfort dolls. And that is something else that you can make for Operation Christmas Child. And I'll try to remember to leave a link down below for some of the ones that I've seen in the past. Some of them call the Izzy doll. Some are just plain comfort dolls. You can make them all different sizes. The gals that make ours at the Prayer Shawl Ministry, they use a size 3 or 4 knitting needle, double pointed, and then they just use scraps to change the color in the dolls' clothing. And some of the dolls they leave completely naked, as in they do not put a face in them. So that way, if there is an Amish child who receives it, they could certainly use the doll. Amish do not believe in putting faces on dolls. So that's why many of the Amish dolls are, as my son would say, they're naked, Mom. They're naked. I am continuing to work on the Tunisian crochet blanket. I do have a couple more inches to go on it. And I am now just doing a basic, that modified Tunisian simple stitch with this one now to give it the extra length that I need. And then I will do my normal procedure to work around the edges that are kind of wonky, but I will use the yarn that this is made in so that it will be fairly easy and simple to blend it in to where you won't really see it as much as you do when I had done the sample. I did it in 2 different colors so that you could see it a little bit better. You could use different colors if you wanted to, but basically if you're using a 1 color in your project, it's better to use that color on the outer border as well. I did not start a border with this one. I have done that in the past where I build in a border so that I do not have to worry about the curling, don't have to worry about the edges. And generally I don't do samplers when I do those. Generally I use stick to 1 stitch. Honeycomb is one of my favorite ones to make baby blankets in, those kind of things when I'm using Tunisian. So there's that. It's been a crazy week, hasn't it, guys? From people being swatted while alive to just craziness in general around the world today. And I will tell you, my cats this morning brought me one of my tennis shoes. To bed. Well, they didn't make it quite to bed. They couldn't get it up on the bed, so it's on the floor. But I was like, what on earth were they doing? Now, I was sick last night. I was pretty sick. And I think it had to do with the meal that I had the day before that afternoon. Let's put it this way. The folks who prepared the meal, they always do a great job with the meal. However, when we walked in to set up for the meeting that we were having, they had the pork already seasoned and out on the counter, and they didn't put it in the oven for probably about an hour and a half before. So I'm sure that's probably got a little ptomaine poisoning, as my mother would always say. You know, when you eat pork, she always said, you get ptomaine poisoning. But, yeah. So I was pretty sick last night, and the cats, of course, thought I was dying. So they brought me gifts. Do I know why they bring me gifts? I don't know. But I thought that was rather interesting that they brought me my tennis shoe. They're so silly. And I do find it shameful for those people who think that swatting is funny, because it is not. You know, it can cause all kinds of trauma, not only to the person being swatted, but if there are family members around. So, you know, but that's enough of that, because our gal has stepped up and she's not letting that person win. So kudos. And sometimes it is hard to do that in itself, to be courageous enough that when something like that has happened, for you to step over that bound and to continue to carry on. So I'm very impressed with our gal, and grateful that she is not taking a break like she had threatened to. But yeah, that's basically craziness. And then, of course, yesterday I'm perusing Facebook and I see this thing for Fisher Price. Supposedly it's a Ouija board for your children, my child's first seance. And I thought, boy, I sure hope that's a joke. And I really think it is. Because when I went to do a search for it, I could not find it. But at the same time, I wouldn't doubt if someone's contacted Fisher Price and asked them to make that toy for them. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And at the meeting that we had yesterday, normally folks call in to set reservations since there is a meal provided with it. Well, we had quite a few reservations, but at the same time, we had 10 people who walked in, 10 or 12, I think, that had walked in and said, well, I called and reserved. Now, I prepare the name tags, but if their name is not on the reserved list, I don't prepare their name tag. And by that, I mean anyone who has been to a meeting has a name tag that is generated with their name for this organization. And then we put them in little plastic pouches, you know, with the little neckties on them, so that each month I take the name cards out of those badges, wipe them down with Clorox, clean them off real good. If I need to change the strings, I'll change the strings. But then I get a list of the next meetings, attendees, let's call them that, So then I'll set about putting those name cards into those badges, and so that they're set up on a table alphabetically. So when they come in, they pick up their name tag, put it on, you know. Now, I have been threatening that what I'm going to do is one of these times I am going to give them somebody else's name tag, anybody else's name tag, and then just before they are served their meal, they have to go find the person with their name tag, like a scavenger hunt. So I've been threatening to do that. I doubt it'll ever happen, but I think it might be fun. Of course, it would probably take a good hour for everybody to find their name tags, but I figured that would be a good way for people to introduce themselves to others. The people tend to sit at the same tables, don't move around. And granted, I do sit at the same table, but that's because I am also one of the workers at this event. So we have a table set at the back so that when we're finished, everybody's already seated and started in on the program so that we can come in and join quietly. So, but yeah, it's rather interesting the way that the things are set up, and it generally takes us about maybe 2 hours to set up for the event. Of course, it takes less time to break down. It takes about 30-40 minutes to break it down, and that includes taking the tables down, putting them in a closet, which, of course, the men do that. We don't have to. We just get to sit and help just clean up, taking decorations off the table and all the placemats, all of the decorations off the table, taking off the tablecloths, those kind of things. So yeah, it's rather fun. It's an interesting thing to participate in each month. And I always find it funny how many women will come in, they'll invite their friends, and then they will pay for their friends to come to the event. They'll pay for their meal. So I think that's rather interesting and neat to see. And of course, most of us know each other. I say most of us. I don't know every one of the women by name yet. I am learning. But yeah, it's a fun, interesting afternoon. How many of you are doing Crystal's shawl along? I need to start on part 4. I understand she's releasing part 5 this week, so I need to catch up, but I've been busy doing other things. I was asked to make some hats for UPMC, for the babies, newborn babies, for Mother's Day, so I've been working on that. The pattern is a little finicky, calls for a DK weight, which in our area is hard to find in the colors that they wanted. They wanted pale yellow, and then it has the green leaves, and of course you can't use pale yellow with most newborns because it tends to make them sick, makes them look a little jaundish, yellowish in skin. So I try to avoid yellow with babies anyway. So couldn't find a pale yellow. There was a very bright yellow, but instead I chose ivory, to use ivory. And it's a cute little hat, but it is a bit finicky to work on. The person did tell me that some of the other knitters who have been working on this have had trouble with the pattern. The only trouble I have with the pattern is because the first part of it is finicky. You're starting with the calyx it's a flower fairy hat for newborns. And you start with the calyx part and then you work down the hat. The calyx, like I said, it's hard to start because you've got just that small little opening, to work with and to work rounds with. And you're doing it in spirals before you begin doing it in rounds. But it is cute. It is a very cute hat. So I'm having fun playing with it, working on it. I don't know if I told you, I have 2 young men at the church that they love gnomes, like I love gnomes. And of course, I'd made Jerry that Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I'm telling you, the Phillies gnome. So they want me to make them gnomes, but they want them to have a catcher's mitt. Well, I had to do those hats, so I put it off, and now I'm starting to work on the gnome this weekend for the boys. One of the boys wants the beard to be gray. The other one wants the beard to be blue and green. I will try to achieve that for this young man. They are such special little boys. It's amazing because they don't care your age. If they've found you, if they've determined you're a friend, you're a friend. We have discussed Harry Potter. We have discussed which house they would want to be in if they were at Hogwarts. We have even discussed our favorite villain in Hogwarts. Of course, one of them, he asked me to guess his. I couldn't guess it. And I finally said, "Who is it?" And he goes, "Voldemort." I said, "Oh, we're not supposed to say that name out loud." And he looks at me like I'm crazy. I said, "I'm kidding you, Jeremiah." So then he goes on. So this week he's telling me that his favorite character of all is Ron Weasley. I told him one of my favorite characters is Snape. I always thought he made a good villain. And so we have discussed the merits of Hogwarts quite often, as well as gnomes. And these boys have very vivid imaginations. They will take their gnomes out around their neighborhood when they go for hikes, those kind of things. They will take them and take pictures of them to build little stories. So I do find that very, very creative. And I do enjoy that about these young men. And I say young men because they're like first graders through second graders, even though they're kindergarten through first graders, second grade. Even though they are homeschooled, that's about the age range that they are. So yeah, they're very good. They're very good young men. And they're quite helpful with their dad and their mom. So that's interesting to see. I have started working on cutting the grocery bags. I am doing 2 different types of grocery bags. The first ones that will come out will be a basic square, like a tote bag, but it will be 1 layer of fabric only. And believe it or not, that is plenty strong enough. I ran out of yarn. That is plenty strong enough for these bags to last a long time. I made my first bags, 11 or 12 years ago, and they have held up very well. I use them all the time, for getting groceries, those kind of things. Unless I need plastic bags for the kitty litter, and then I'll do a grocery run with just plastic to get the plastic bags. But yeah, they do last quite a long time. They do, even with the 1 layer, they are strong. And then I do have some that I'm making that are 2 layered, that are a little more like a grocery bag itself. But both of these, you can fold them up so that you can slip them into your purse or leave them in your car so that they're ready for you to go. One has elastic, the other has a pocket. I have not been able to find my nylon fabric ripstop. I used to make bags in those because those last forever and they're very strong. You just need 1 layer. But I have not been able to find my ripstop. Going through my fabrics that are still in the garage in totes and boxes. So, don't know if those will ever get made. But those are on the horizon. I am continuing to make a few more Bible covers. Also, just plain journal covers. I am also going to be making what is called you can use it as a pouch for memories, to put in a letter stationery kit, to put lingerie in when you go travel, jewelry, that kind of thing. It's basically just a folded up pouch with a snap on it. I don't know if any of you have ever made a stationery pouch for someone to gift to someone. Cursive writing is something that is just being reintroduced to many schools. There are quite a few children that do not know how to write cursive writing. And that in itself is sad, because so many of our founding documents are actually written in cursive. So, and I don't know why schools decided to do away with that. I don't think you have to worry about penmanship, whether the child is able to write it exactly the way that the teacher does. If she has great penmanship at the front of the class, that used to irritate me more than anything, because handwriting is it displays your personality in many ways. So, I'm just glad that they are bringing it back into the school systems. It's about time, don't you think? And I was talking with someone, and someone had said, had sent me a video, and it was a video of someone asking how old our founding fathers were. And, they were saying that they were old white men. Well, I believe the oldest person that was part of our founding fathers was probably Washington and Jefferson. I mean, I think that they were both about 30 to 33 years old. I believe James Madison was 18. A lot of those people who wrote our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, those kind of things, were 18 to 25. So no, they weren't old white men. And I do find that interesting, that somehow people get away from learning the actual history and how old these people were. They assume that they were in their 70s, 90s. I guess, I don't know. So, yeah. Education, it's something that's pretty important, don't you think? I mean, we have young people now who think that, to fight inflation, that you need to just print more money. Well, no, that increases your inflation. So they don't even teach finance in classes anymore. And Lord help you if you have a civics class. You remember going to civics class? I do. That was one of my favorite subjects. My civics teacher was our baseball coach. Baseball and football coach. Extra credit points were if you knew whatever the score of whatever game it was that was being played. If you knew the score, you got extra points. So, yeah, that's always been kind of fun. But, yeah. Let's see. I don't have an innard. I like to pull from the center. I'm pretty bad about that. I do like to pull from the center. So I'm going to find my yarn end, and hopefully get it out of this yarn barf. Generally, it's pretty easy to find it once you get it out there. Sometimes you just kind of have to build backwards. So, like I said, if you are not working on Bod's shawl along, what are you working on? I am trying to get a few more things on my hooks. You know, I'm not monogamous, and even though I would like to be, I now have that plan where I've started putting into a notebook the items that I have decided I am going to work on, so that I can work on one of those items while I am also working on my new items. So yeah, I know I'm never going to be monogamous. I get too bored too easily and want to move on. Now you will notice that I did tie this on, and yes, I am going to trim it later, but I am going to continue to work. You can join your yarn at the end, or you could use that, knot, magic knot, and continue to work on your piece. Generally, it's not easily found because it works itself into the project quite easily. I am going to pull that out of the way so I can pull up my loop. But I have learned, even with Tunisian, it is perfectly fine to add in yarn at any point where you are working. I have been watching Mad Mimi, Laura, and I had just started the video where she is taking a ride to take us to the North Pole. So I don't know if we ever get to the North Pole or not. And I do like that Laura doesn't always just do crochet, knit videos. I do enjoy that bit as well. Was thinking about doing a video where I show you the new crochet magazine, but I don't know if I am actually going to do that, just simply because I don't like the way that it is coming out. With my lights, it's hard to keep it from having a glare. So I don't know if I'll do that or not. But yeah, I am working on a couple more of the Healthy You videos. We started with some healthy cooking techniques. Figure we'll touch a couple of other issues about healthy eating, about getting on track, becoming a healthier year. And one of those things, as always, is making sure that if you've had lab work, that you know what your labs say and what it means when you see the lab work. That'll be coming up in the future. I know a lot of people have no idea when they get their labs. They just assume everything's okay, and they don't ever question if they see something on a lab result that says high or low. And sometimes you should question if it says high or low, and the doctor is just kind of passing over it, and you're thinking, why are they passing over it? They may have a reason, but you should ask your doctor why. So yeah, those are some things that I'm looking at. As well as, all those fun things that we need to do each day. And as always, we need to drink more water. We don't always drink enough water. I'm bad about that as well. So I'm right there in that same boat with you guys. My thing is I'm at the age I don't want to be up all night peeing. So try to get my water in during the day for the most part. so that after 8 o'clock, 8:39, I'm not really drinking a whole lot of fluids other than just to wet my mouth. If I get dry, I am a mouth breather when I sleep, which means I snore. However, I didn't snore until I had my neck surgery. So, I find that interesting that it caused that. And I teased my neurologist for the longest time. I said, it's because you made my neck shorter. He said, that's not why you snore. I said, well, I didn't snore before. At least my husband said I didn't snore before. And then we became a very snoring family. He snored. He had a deviated septum from an auto accident many years ago. He snored. The cat snored. And there were many times I couldn't get to sleep because their snoring was not on the same rhythm, and it would drive me nuts. And of course, then once again, I would start snoring once I got my neck surgery done. So it was snore fest in our house. And I can attest that since I have had the surgery, that there have been times when I've sat back in the recliner and fallen asleep and woke myself snoring. So who knows? So we're coming along with this blanket, working well, getting it done, getting it out of the way. That I'm so glad about. My cats have gone off into the other room finally, I think. No, I guess one of them's back here by me sleeping. Thought they'd gone into the sewing room. They like to go back there because I have some totes that sit next to the fireplace so that they can climb up on those totes and sleep and keep an eye on the wildlife outside. Yep, they do enjoy that. And when I took my trash out this morning, I have to take it out at 6 a.m. in the morning because the trash men come at 6:30. As I was wheeling the can out to the curb, I look up and there were like 7 deer in my front. They come bounding across the street and up the side of the other mountain. So that was rather interesting to see. I've seen them up behind me on that retaining wall, but rarely do I see them in the front yard. Well, it's not really a yard because we don't have any topsoil yet, but I rarely see them there. That's on a very rare occasion that I see them. So yeah, that was rather interesting to watch them. And I know the cats do enjoy watching the deer. They get out there on that one side and they just chatter to them, talk to them. I don't know if they're saying, come on over here, buddy. I'd eat you in a minute or what. Or get out of my yard. Who knows? They might be yelling at the deer, telling them to get off their lawn. But, yeah, it's very interesting to watch the cats with the deer when the deer come out. But anyway, I have those totes back there that they can climb up onto, and generally they like laying there because it's in the sunshine, so that they can lay on top of it and get sun and, view their kingdom. So that's always fun. And that way it keeps them out of the fabric. I don't have a lot of fabric that is really out. A lot of it is in totes or in those plastic drawers to keep it protected. Although I do have some on the shelves, but generally the shelves are so full the cats can't get up into the shelves. They don't bother that anyway. So far they haven't. the one thing that I've noticed the most is Ronan likes to climb on top of it's a sewing machine case. It's one of those Tudos. I think it's called Tudo. Sewing cases that rolls that you slip your sewing machine down into. My other Bernina, the smaller Bernina, he likes to lay on top of the tutu tote that carries it. So he likes to lay there, but generally I don't have any fabric there anyway, so he's just laying on top of the carrier. And I do have a big, it's pretty much a mesh, huge, like zip. They call it a crate, but it's not really a crate. It's all done in ripstop or nylon, zips open, but they can go into that and hide away in there. And many times, and I do have a couple of blankets that I've thrown in there for them, lots of times they'll go in there and snuggle and go to sleep. So, yeah. And I'm trying to get my yarn stash put away and fairly neat so I can get to really working on some things. I am ready. You know, Afghans are one of my favorite things, Afghans and shawls. And I really miss making the Afghans. So I'm wanting to get back into the Afghans and making those Afghans and getting them done and out of the way and off to their potential new owners, those kind of things. I think that's kind of what I've been up to this week, other than, you know, that one night, last night, being rather sick and taking it easy today, not doing a whole lot of heavy working, although I do need to vacuum and mop. That's going to have to wait for another day because I'm just not ready to do it. But, yeah. All right, guys, I think I have chatted your ear off long enough. So I will let you go, and I will see you again next week. So in the meantime, remember to be a little kinder to yourself, be kind to one another, and I'll see you again soon. Bye. Hi guys, I forgot to add in the video that right now the bags are 25% off in the shop. So yeah, I'm going to tag that at the very end. Hope you enjoy. Go buy some bags. Bye.